This is Bonnie. I am back for BonnaH Co Bingo, aka Embroidery Bingo, and this year known as Birdie Bingo. So this is day 3. Did I say that already? Day 3. So hope you guys are having fun so far. I'm going to see what we've got for today's stitch. It's a big surprise, but yesterday, day 1 we had the running zigzag, or no, the double running zigzag, and then yesterday Hannah did, what did Hannah do yesterday? Oh, she did the whipped spider wheel, which is super fun. Hi Aubrey, good morning. It's actually good afternoon for us, but good morning to you. Thanks for joining me. Are we ready to get started? Let's see what we get today. Now we've got some people still not on the board. We got some people on the board, so that's great. You never know what you're gonna get. All right. So today we're doing the raised stem stitch. All right, raised stem stitch. Let me turn the camera around and I'll also double check my notes. 1 second. So let's see. Raised stem stitch. Let me find my notes and let me find where we are on it as well. On our board, number 9. Okay, so we are on the board today. How about you, Aubrey? Where are you today for raised stem stitch? Number 9 for us is, gonna be the little owl that's dabbing. Okay, is that still a thing? I don't think that's a thing anymore. All right, let me again double check my notes. This is a kind of cool stitch because it's very textural. It is nice for filling. You can use it as a band. It's also known as the raised stem stitch band, but you can use it to fill areas as well. It works off of a foundation stitch of like horizontal stitches, and then you wrap like the thread around it in a stem stitch motion. Hey, hi there. How are you, Hannah? Okay, so let's see where Hannah did her raised stem stitch. Hannah, is this one the tie, the raised? Is the tie the raised stem stitch on yours? I think it looks like that. Yeah, I think it's this one. So she did a cute little tie on our penguin. Super cute. And then, she did it going vertically this way to fill the shape of the tie. And then she created the same thing going in this direction. So you can see you can also do it in a curve, following the curve. Okay, so it's a really good fill stitch, or like we said, a border stitch. Raised stem stitch on mine. Where did I do raised stem stitch? I did it here. This one's the raised stem stitch, yeah. On the little pink birdie in box 4, I did the raised stem stitch, using it more as a fill. So I filled the wing shape in the raised stem, and then I used the variegated for the tummy area of the bird. All right. So let's talk about how you actually make the raised stem. Arlene, one of our bingo players, had mentioned how it's helpful to see it sort of not on the fabric right away. So I'm going to kind of draw out, give you an idea of what it looks like on this paper first. So when you create a raised stem stitch, you're going to start with a set of horizontal foundation stitches, as I mentioned. So you would stitch some horizontal stitches, and you can do it all in the same color, or you can do it 2 different colors. It's really up to you. This is another one of those stitches where it may be good to lay your foundation stitches in the pearl cotton, a non-divisible thread, just because you are, again, weaving underneath it. But you don't have to, as long as you're being careful to not split the thread of your foundation stitches, you should be good. But it does work nice in the pearl cotton. Let's see, what else? So then what you would do, is and I'll use another color, is you'll these foundation stitches, and then you come up and you wrap around, like you're going to start right below the base of your foundation stitch, and then you're going to go up and around the next bar. So you're going to skip over this bar and then jump to the second bar, and you're going to go back around. So it goes up and around like that. Okay. So I'll show you what that looks like on fabric, the actual motion. Again, I will do it on the white fabric because this one is a little bit easier to see, I think, if you're seeing it in white. So let me lay down a foundation stitch using black pearl. Get that out of this skein here. It is a glorious sunny day today. Still kind of cold, but not horrible. It's nice. Let's see, I gotta double check. I have to remember to look in the chat. Oh yes, welcome. No worries that you're late. So today I just pulled the raised stem stitch. And Aubrey, you said you have it in box 14. 14. That is, oh, that's our cheeky little bluebird over here. This is box 14. Yeah. So you can use it to fill either some in the background, or you can use it to work on the bird itself and some of the feathers. Okay. Or you can do it however you want. You can experiment. Okay. Let's get this. What did I do with my needles? There's so many things all over this desk here. All right. So I'm going to thread this up. Needed a little nature's glue there. Ooh. Oh, I might need my threader for this. Or the other thing you can do is when you have kind of a frayed end like this, you can also just snip it, give it a fresh cut. 8, wait, did somebody just say it was 4 a.m.? Wow, 4 a.m.? You are dedicated. What are you doing up at 4 a.m.? I can't believe it's 4 a.m. and you're up watching bingo with us. There we go. Okay. So it is the raised stem stitch. I'm going to start. Just got to sleep. That is true. That is almost true. I didn't stay up that late, but pretty close. All right, so I'm going to come up and I'm going to make a series of horizontal stitches. And I'm going to kind of zigzag back and forth. Oh, your Chihuahua. What's your Chihuahua's name? Okay, so I'm going to kind of zigzag. I'm going to go left to right. I think I'll just set up 4 of them. Okay, so you can, oh, Lola Aubrey, is your Chihuahua named after your BFF? So I'm going a kind of across like this. You see where it sort of makes a, almost like a zigzag pattern. Oh, no, I guess it's not a zigzag pattern. It looks more like a Greek key pattern. Can you guys see it going through there? I think you can, right? So I could have trailed across, but I chose to kind of just go back and forth because it doesn't really matter. All right, so let's tie this off. Wait, what happened? Did you get sriracha all over you, Hannah? Oh, landed on your pants. That's a bummer. Okay. That sounds like me. I tend to get stuff on my clothes too. All right, so then let's see. What shall I weave it with? Maybe I'll use the green variegated. Where's the end of it? It's a brand new skein, so I gotta find the end. And again, I'm gonna pull from, because it's a DMC skein, I'm gonna pull from the number side. And then let's thread this one up. This one I'll use my chenille needle. You know what? You don't really realize till you do these things live how long things take just to set up. Day one, I knew what we were starting with because we had picked ahead of time what stitch we were gonna start with. And so I could kind of have it planned out. But when you're doing it live like this and it's a big surprise what you're going to pull out of the jar, it really is it puts you on the spot. I'm sure Hannah felt that way yesterday as she's trying to make a design decision all at the same time. But anyway, let me get back to the demo. So I'm gonna come in with another color, and again, you do not have to use a different color. You can use the same one. Yeah, it totally puts us on the spot. So we are doing this all on the fly, okay? Not that we didn't practice and like prepare and learn these stitches, but there's still a lot of stitches to remember. And then just figuring out the best way to teach it. And again, as much as we think about it ahead of time, it's still like performance anxiety, I guess. But anyway, so I'm gonna come up in another color just so that it's easier for you to see. And I'm gonna come up right below the base of my foundation stitches. And I'm gonna skip this first one and then go over the second one. I'm gonna go from the top, and you can either go use the pointy side. If you're gonna use the pointy side, I would recommend, well, either way, I would recommend you use from the back, push up with your finger to make a little mound behind the fabric, and then press down your needle against the fabric, not into, but just like parallel to the surface of the fabric, and push it under. And what that does is it helps the needle slide underneath. Alternatively, you can turn your needle around and weave with your eye end, okay? So I'm gonna start by wrapping that first one, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna go up to the next one and go under. And so probably if you are a lefty stitching this, you would be working from the other side. Imagine going from stitching or weaving your stem stitch from left to right, whereas for me as a righty, I'm going from right to left. Okay, and then this last one, you can just go right to the top, like just end it above it, or you could probably also just wrap it. And as I wrap it, I'm gonna kind of pull up and over to the right and sort of zhuzh those stitches over to the right hand side, okay? Because what you're trying to do is you're starting to pack all these stitches next to one another, and then I'll just anchor it right on top. So I'll go to the back of the fabric, so needle back in, and that makes your first row. We try to mention the lefties as much as we can. Yes, it doesn't always make sense to us, but we do try to think about how it might work. I think for many people who are lefties, they sort of automatically, their brain just does the reverse, like they just know it, right? Okay, so the next one, I'm going to start again back down at the bottom and come up next to that first row, and then I'll do the same thing, weave up from the top. I'm going to go in from the top and under that second bar, and I like to kind of keep my working thread out of the way over to the right, and then again skip over And I'm pulling up and over to the right, and then over that top bar, and then over just to anchor it down. And you basically repeat that. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to switch over to the actual bingo board now and show you what that might look like on a birdie. So let me just get that knotted. So Hannah and I are working with kind of two different setups. I'm using my iPad to stream these, and Hannah's using her laptop and a dock camera. The forgotten children getting love from the BonnaH face. Oh, the forgotten children. That makes me sad. Okay, so where did I say we were? We're trying to spread as much love to everyone as possible. Okay, so the raised down stitch was a number 9. Here's my number 9, this little owl here. I'm going to get it in the hoop. And I love working with the Morgan hoop as well. The demo is actually in the Morgan hoop. But for this one, I think I tend to like a 3 or a 4 inch hoop the most. Fits really nicely in your hand. So I'm going to go ahead and use the 3 inch hoop. And my brain right now is thinking about, what do I want to do for this guy? Let me just check if there's any other information about the notes. Yeah, so you can use it in the wing. Maybe I'll do the wing, and then I think I'll also show you. So I'll do the swing here, and then I'll show you what you can do if you're working on a much larger area. Your chicken's crown is so glorious, Hannah. It is so cute. I love it. It's awesome. And somebody said every bird deserves a crown. I forget who. I think maybe Mary said that. Okay, so we got this in the hoop. I'm going to decide what I want to use for my foundation stitches. Now, as you can see, when you're wrapping it, you don't see the color of the foundation stitches underneath unless you are deliberately like leaving space or haven't packed it well enough like against each other. So you can do whatever color, it's not going to show up. So I think I'm going to use the black because we got plenty of black. And I'll make the foundation stitches in the black. And then I'm going to, on this wing, use the 4507, the blue, the cool toned variegated that we gave you. But again, if you didn't use our thread, you can certainly use whatever you want. Oh, I forgot I still have some on here. I don't have to thread another one. This stitch you can sort of stop midway as long as you're going to kind of finish one whole column. But it is one that will probably tend to use a good amount of thread. You could also, I believe, switch colors. Maybe we'll try that because I don't think I've tried that yet. You could switch colors along the way. So I'm going to create, I'm thinking about the texture of this bird wing kind of going in this direction, like this. Okay, so the rows will actually sort of follow the edge of these lines of the wing. Okay, so I'm going to make my foundation stitches going in this direction. I'm going to start here, come up, and then I'm going to go across. And this is a little bit of an irregular shape. So it might, you know, your stitches may not go all the same. Like same width, I mean. Okay, and then I'll go across. And your foundation stitches don't necessarily need to be 100% parallel to each other either, probably. I imagine it doesn't really matter that much. Oop. Oh, I just trailed across all the way in the back instead of just going up, but I'm not going to do it. It doesn't really matter. Oh yeah. Aubrey's is on the card. Hers was, what did you say was again, Aubrey? I forget what you said. This is the issue, I think, on the iPad. Oh, I started talking about how we are with different setups. And so there are pros and cons to each of our setups. Oh, and you can also sew your foundation stitches in this way. So I can go in and then out at the next row. Yes, Aubrey's is number 14. So as I was saying, the pros and cons of it are that I don't have to worry as much about my camera focusing on what I'm doing on the demo part. The dock cam has to like sort of focus. You gotta hold still a little bit more. But Hannah can see the chat very well, so she'll probably be a lot more responsive with the chats than I will, because I have to keep tapping on this little button and telling it to wake up my chat so I can see it. If I don't look right at that corner of my screen when the chat comes in and notice that it pops up, I don't see it. You have to spam chat me. Is that a thing? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and anchor my foundation stitch here. I'm doing 2 knots there. Spam, spam. Thank you. See, I saw that. All right. So there's that one. And then I said I want to use this one. So has anyone tried that little tip I mentioned about the variegated thread? Sort of splitting it and mixing up the colors a bit more. Because I'm going to do that now. I'm going to use half and half. So look, you can just hold it and pull and separate them. Come on, fingers, work. Okay. And you can turn one set over. So I'll regroup these. Now I could have also just split the 3 and 3 and just pulled it. But they say sometimes the stitches lay a little bit nicer when they are fully separated and then regrouped. So that's one of them, and then I should pull this one apart. 1, 2, 3, and then regroup them. And then what I'm going to do is turn them half around to meet the other one. Because on this one that I cut, there's pink on one end and purple on the other. Wait, can't we see this? Okay, so I'm going to match half of the full strand purple end to the pink, and then I'm going to thread them. It's a little bit of extra work, but for me, it's one of those things that I just like the way it looks. Now, what happened to my other needle? Oh, here it is. And I realized that when I was doing my sample and I did turkey work with the variegated, and I ended up frogging out the entire wing because I just didn't like the way the colors were too separated. I really wanted it to be looking a little more painterly and more variegated all over, and I had to frog the whole thing out. And frogging turkey work is no fun. I don't know if anybody's had to do that before, but I don't recommend it. So I take the time to split these threads. You don't have to, though. If you don't care or you prefer the look where the colors are more separated, then don't bother to do this. Okay, so I'm going to start now. This is a little different because in the demo, I started on the far right side, okay? But if you notice, my foundation stitches on this birdie wing, they're not even. If I start here on my last foundation stitch and I start wrapping, all of these on this side of it won't get filled in. So where I want to start for this case is actually my furthest foundation stitch. So I'm going to start under this one. So I'm going to go underneath that black, that second from the bottom. Okay. Pull all the way so your knot's against the back. And then I'm gonna again push up in the back and go under the next one up. Like this. And then pull up, go over to the next one. And so once you find your rhythm for this, it goes pretty fast, okay? And then I think what I'm gonna do is, because again, the shape, I'm gonna end it right here. I'm just gonna go back in, and that fills in this section. And then I'm gonna come in again, maybe a little lower this time, like following the edge of the, oop, I just pulled the window right back out after I found my spot. Okay, so I'm gonna come right back in below it, kind of following the edge of the wing here. Ooh, Clever, I want, oh wait, which one are you talking about, Chevy? About stitching the turkey work one? Is that what you're talking about? All right, so I'm gonna start under here, and then I'm gonna, again, jump up to this one. Again, you wanna pack those threads over. So you have rows and you have columns. So you wanna push the columns over to the right, or for, again, lefties, pack them over to the left, okay? And now this time, I'm gonna go up and over the next one. Okay, making the wing full of stitches with it being in a oh yes, so that's what I'm showing you right now. Yeah, so you can do irregular shapes. It was traditionally done as, or it's traditionally shown as a band, but one of the things we love to do at BonnaH Co is kind of go think outside the box. What else can you do with it? How else can you use these stitches? And play with the general technique of how they're made, but push them a little further. So one thing you can do, now I don't know, is this worth it for everybody? I'm allowed to say that word. I'm not going to say that word out loud, but we love to make beep up. So one thing you could do, if you had a really, really long, like tall space that you were doing, and you were like worried about your thread, conserving thread, you could tie off at the top before you start again at the bottom, okay? I ain't got time for that, okay? So I'm gonna go back down to the bottom. Now, if you run out of thread, use a different color. When we curated these thread bundles, we just chose a bunch of different things we thought would work nicely together, and it didn't matter if it matched or not, okay? So just go with it. Have fun. The more color, the better. Okay, so now I'm gonna start again. I'm following this irregular edge of the bottom of the wing, and that's where I'm coming up from the back, okay? Now, if it was a far space, I could go under this one before I go up to the second one. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I could just go on from the top. Again, you're always starting from the top of that bar and going down under it and over it to the next one. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so if you want this to kind of fill faster, it does help to use the full strand, all 6 strands together, because then, you know, it's thicker and it just fills up faster, okay? All right, so let's get this one so you can see how it starts to fill in that shape. And if I was really, really trying to get my variegated thread to be super duper variegated, I might even alternate when I put my threads back together, alternate the colors as I regroup it to recreate that 6th strand. There's like a little fluff showing on the other side. Okay. Because I just had them grouped in 3 and 3 and then squished them together, but I could have gone like every other and then have been even more variegated. All right, so now at this point, I think I can start at the very bottom. So I'm going to start below the very, very bottom foundation stitch and go up to that second one. Again, push over to the right. And try not to pull super, super tight where it starts to distort them and your stitches get all wonky, like the spacing of it gets really changed. Do try to be mindful of that, how much you're pulling. Okay. I was, speaking of making stuff up, I was reviewing in case I got bouillon today. And the first year when we did bouillon, which was when we did blooming bingo, it was a floral theme. We called it the maggot stitch. And I will forever think of it as the maggot stitch. Doesn't sound very pretty, but that's what it kind of looked like. Okay, so again, I'm going to follow that irregular shape before I go up to wrap around the bar. Okay, we're almost there. So one other thing to keep in mind, and I can show you if you guys need to see it, or I can at least start it to show you. You'll see how long this demo takes. But if you are filling a particularly wide area of space, you might want to break up those foundation stitches. So maybe use the grid and only make them about 1/4 inch. So it's almost like your foundation stitch, instead of just one long bar, might be more of like a back stitch or a double running stitch, so that your tension can be a little bit more easily controlled. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. And again, you want to be careful not to go through the fabric. You're only weaving under the bar. Pushing them over. Look how cute. Okay, I'm going to be running out of thread soon. I'm going to see if I think what I'm going to do. So look on the back, it's almost like a satin stitch, because I didn't want to have to knot off after every single column. But this is good because it shows you what you need to do if you run out. You just pick back up. Try to at least finish that one column before you have to switch. Should I switch colors? Maybe I'll switch colors. Maybe I'll go with just the teal on the outside. Let's mix it up. Use this. Oh, I'm having trouble threading today. What is going on? Here we go. Ah! I don't know what's happening with my hands today. They don't seem to be cooperating. So weird. Okay, so I'll start again down at the bottom. And I'll probably fit about 1 or 2 more columns, I think, on this wing. Ta-da! Yeah, saying ta-da. Marilyn, our friend from one of our bingo players, and last year's, she was our grand prize winner, I think, was saying how she didn't want to cover up the pretty little birdies. But that's okay. They don't mind. You can always stitch the background if you want. Okay, so now I'm gonna just go up to the top there. So I'm kind of curious, if I didn't want to waste all the thread, if I rotate my hoop, okay, here we are learning on the fly right now, we're rethinking this. If I start on the other side, thank you. Yes, we love this year's board. And we've got a lot of really positive feedback about this year's board, the birdies, and that it was nice because it felt like we were helping cheer people up from maybe a time when things are not so great. But anyway, let me see. If I want to skip having to start back at the bottom, I think I can go in the other direction. Let's see. Does it work that way? Yeah, I think it will still work that way. Yeah, let's try that. So I'm going to come from the top again, under that next one, push over. Let me see, does that still look the same or does it change it? Yeah, I think it looks the same. Cool. Nice. Right, so you're going to continue doing that sort of stem stitch motion. Wrap from the top, go under the bar, the next bar, and then wrap back up. But this time I gotta zhuzh it to the left, right? So you're packing it against the stitches you already did. Okay, and then I can go down to the back. Oh, I'm sorry, was I out of view? I hope you guys could see that. Let me do it again. Move up. Sorry, we can't see. Okay. I did it again. Oh, here. Okay, so if I am finished with this section here, I can move over to the left of it and just skip the bottom. And then I'll go to the, so every time, no matter which direction you're going from, whether from the tip of the wing to the base, like the shoulder part of the wing, you're always going down over and under the next foundation stitch. I will have one more where I turn back in the other direction, so sorry about being out of camera view. Okay, so I'm gonna go up, under, and then wrap over, and then go in to anchor it. And then I'm gonna rotate my hoop. Got a lot of fabric here too. I don't want to stitch through it. All right. So I've rotated my hoop, and now I'm gonna come and I'm gonna push these out of the way. And I'm gonna come back up and do the same thing. I'm gonna find that foundation stitch. And as you fill the space, it's gonna be a little bit harder, but you gotta kind of just take your nail and put. And so I'm gonna go under that stitch. Okay, my working thread is to the right of me. Pull and go up under the next one. See, okay, pull, and then I think I'll fit probably one more. Again, I'll pull those other columns out of the way, go under, keep that working thread to the right. And this is another one of those stitches where, because of all the weaving, you'll notice your thread get kind of like wound up. So just let it unwind itself, okay? And then let's anchor it again down in here. All right, let's see. I'm gonna check the chat again, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so that is for, so here's the 6 full strands of variegated. yeah, floss, and then here's pearl cotton, size 8 pearl cotton, right? And you can see it gives you like a little bit of a dimension to it. It's a bit puffy, right? So because it's raised, so any of these raised ones are going to give you a little bit more of a puffy look. All right, so as promised, I will also just show you how you would set up your foundation stitches to fill a much larger area. Let me just tie this off. Okay, and so you can also see in the back how different it looks when you don't just like have a continuous one. So here I had to go all the way back to start at the bottom, and on this side, this is a section where I did the pearl cotton and I went back and forth instead of like always wrapping this way. Okay, all right, so let's also do some chest feathers. Can I use, what did I do with that black one? Here it is. Okay. So let's say I want to do some of the chest feathers, and I have a longer span to go. You can kind of connect like the dots, but I'm gonna, again, I want my texture to be even with, oh my God, I just had another idea. Why do all these ideas come? Now I feel bad if I don't show it. All right. I hope you guys don't have somewhere to be. I was thinking about the double running zigzag. And what if we wanted these rows to look a little bit more irregular? Let's zig. And would that change how then it looks? Oh, have a good haircut, Hannah. Hannah's got to go. She's like, I don't have time to sit through all your crazy thoughts. All right, so I'm going to zig in that direction, and then I'm going to zag in this direction. And I'm going to see if I can do the same technique on a zigzag, which would then give you more of a, like where the lines are in between your weaving, it kind of might follow that. So I'm going to experiment right here and show you and see if that works. But again, what I mean by this is you want to break up this distance for your thread, for your foundation stitches, instead of doing one long stitch from here to here. Imagine as you're wrapping around it, if you're not really careful with your tension, it's going to pull because it's such a long distance to go, right? So that's why you may want to, if you're doing a big area to fill and it's particularly wide, then consider doing more of like a back stitch or a double running, or in this case, a double running zigzag. So let's see if this works. That's the other thing that's fun about this, when we don't cousin it, yeah. When we don't know what's coming up, we don't really know like how we're gonna design it. I guess we could maybe think about it ahead of time because we do have our stitch list, but that's not as fun either. Okay, so let's try a raised stem stitch on a double running zigzag foundation. Okay, so what shall we use? I'll use that. I'll use this. What do we want to do? We want to be really colorful. This is really thin though. That would take a while to wrap with that. Let's try the pink. Okay. Master class. Oh God. You should call it design on the fly. All right, so let's try this. Boop, boop, boop. Is it easier if I start this way? Yeah, whatever, we'll just try this way. Okay, so I'm gonna start around here just because, again, it's like a weird egg shape. So I'll go under, over. Okay, and then I'll go a little lower. Let's see what this looks like. It might look kind of weird, but we'll find out. We're about to find out. Are you guys so excited? You get to experiment with me live. It might be an epic fail, but it's okay. It's a good example of you don't know till you try it. Sometimes you get crazy ideas and you gotta go with it. This is gonna be a long way to go from here to there, but whatever. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna tack that down. And then I'm gonna, now I can go under the next one. Then I'll go over and under this row, and then I'm gonna jump up, get that working thread out of the way, up to the bar. Oh, okay, so this is where it gets a little tricky because it's slanted. You gotta watch your tension. So I'm gonna take my nail and hold it as I tighten it up, and then I'll anchor it so it can't slide down that bar. It's like going sledding. Right, and then I'll come down here. So what I'm noticing right off the bat is it doesn't pack quite as neatly, at least not yet. But that might be okay. I will get a little annoyed if it actually doesn't look all that different, but we'll see. No, I'm not sure if you can tell that it's a zigzag once it's filled in. And I'm not sure, is it because of the pearl cotton or, I don't know. Maybe I just need to do more. Okay. Trust the process. I'm trying so hard. In case, bye, good luck with your haircut. I'm sure it'll look fabulous, Hannah. In case you guys didn't know, I might be a little bit of a type A control freak. Again, recovering perfectionist, so it's hard sometimes to trust the process, especially when you're doing it live and then, you know, you're worried, like, is it gonna look weird? Did I waste everyone's time with this experiment? Might be. Are you talking about me being a type A perfectionist? Control freak? What? Oh, somebody else in here is also type A perfectionist. Try to be recovering though. Thanks, Hannah. I'm gonna need it. Okay. I mean, I can kind of see it, maybe. I don't know. But it is moving along. So as you can see, this type of stitch does go pretty quick. Once you get the hang of it, it sort of just rolls right along. I don't know if this is worth sharing, but I'm going to share it anyway. Last night, after Hannah went live, I had built a file for both of us to be using for our the thumbnails that show up on the YouTube video. This is our first year doing it on YouTube, so we're like trying to figure out how it all works and what's going to look right and how, how to make it easy. And last year we would just have a little picture of our sample. And this year I decided to make a more professional looking thumbnail to go as the cover photo. And I had a colon on it. Like it says 2026 Embroidery Bingo, day 1, colon. And then we're just like, I had intended to, on my day 1, I had just taken the picture with the paper slip with the name. And so I didn't write it. I didn't type in the text again. I'm starting to run out of thread. I can feel it getting low. Should I play thread chicken? I'm gonna see if I can get one more column in. So I thought it would be redundant if we typed out the name of the stitch and then had the picture of it. And so I didn't in mine. But then when Hannah went to use the template, she typed it out because she saw the colon. And so she typed it out, and then she took the picture with the stitch too. And I asked her, I said, would you mind, can I convince you to change it? Because I feel like it's redundant. And I kind of knew she was probably going to tell me, it doesn't matter, it's not a big deal, nobody's going to care. And I was thinking, well, I kind of care, and this is one of those things that I know will bother me every time I look at the YouTube thumbnails and that they don't match, they're not all the same. So you don't have to do anything, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to change it. And I said, don't be mad. And she's like, I'm not mad. I just don't care. It's like, and that is basically, that describes our relationship to a T. There are so many things where I will be like, oh, but it doesn't match, or it looks weird, right? Yeah, right? Wouldn't it kill you? It killed me. And I'm a little bit tech challenged, so I was trying to go and update it, and I was trying to update it in the wrong section of YouTube. And it wouldn't let me change it, and I was like starting to have like panic attack. Not quite a panic attack, but I was like, oh God, no, I don't think it's gonna work. I'm not gonna be able to do this. And then I found where I was supposed to go to edit it, and I was able to change it. I was like, phew, now I can sleep. I feel much better now. But yeah, that's kind of how we work. We have very different philosophies, and like we always say, it all works. It's not like one philosophy is right or wrong, and it really has to do with like what's your comfort level and what do you feel good about. And I do, like I said, I'm recovering. I am doing my best, and I'm being much better about letting things go that really don't matter in the big picture. But I also am learning to respect how I feel about things and recognizing that, you gotta do what feels good to you. And if it's gonna keep you up at night, then you better go back in and change it. So that's what I did. I feel like we're having a therapy session right now. Conniptions, yes. Okay, wait, let's see. So I switched colors, because why not? I switched to the sulky, I don't remember what number this is. It's the orange and pink variegated, and I doubled it up because it's a 12 weight single strand, like non-divisible thread. So if you want it a little bit thicker, you can just double it up. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch and see if I can get like a different, like a variegated effect in the center. God, I'm just thinking this video, because it's so long, God, what time is it? It's probably gonna take forever to finish loading to YouTube. That's the other thing I learned about doing this stuff on YouTube. It takes a long time for them to fully upload. Like you can see it, most of you can see it fairly quickly, but I guess YouTube isn't really done with all their stuff that they have to do to it. And so the first video took forever, like hours. to finish processing. Okay. Yeah. So Aubrey and Chevy, did you realize you were going to be spending the whole day with me? Oh boy. All right, let's see. I'm almost there. I can almost let you go, or you can obviously go at any point that you need to leave. Okay. Deep breath. Do you see that? Are you all seeing what I'm seeing? You see that little gap right there? All right, so I'm gonna take this out. If it wasn't interesting and fun, we wouldn't be here. Oh, yay, thank you. I'm taking that out. I'm not gonna, I have to anchor it a little closer because there's a big gap, big old gap there. Okay. I'm gonna try to shove it over a little bit tighter. And I'm gonna try to get it as close as I can to that other one. Right, that's better. Yay. Okay. I'm glad you're enjoying your time here. Thank you. And I hope to see you next time. All right, let's get this getting a little tricky to get underneath. All right, I'm so close. Okay, and then I'm going to go back down. And then here I'll just fill in. So this section, because there isn't really anything much to wrap around, I think I can get one more around that foundation bar. But you basically just fill in. So I could just kind of do some, almost like a I guess it'd be more of a satin stitch. So if you wanted to fill in the rest, just go in and put a bunch of parallel stitches. I love the sound of the needle going through the thread and the fabric, the thread pulling through. Okay, and then I'm going to just fill in this little gap up in here too. And that will hopefully also help push that previous row out of the way a little bit. Is there one more to wrap around? Hi there, Lisa. I'm glad you found us today. Yeah. All right, so I can I think if this was a wider, if it was like all tummy, like let's say it was in the penguin, or even like this owl, right? Or even where you had like a much bigger tummy area, because this one, it was covered by the wing. But if you had a more open space and you're doing a wide section across here, their tummies, and if you wanted to try it in the zigzag, maybe don't do the zigzag quite as high, like a shallower zigzag. So meaning like maybe lay them flatter like this and not too high like this, because then when you're wrapping around it, it wants to slide down these like steep angles, okay? But you might then get a more defined, because when it wraps, you're gonna get more of a texture like this. and that might look kind of pretty because then you'll see this definition. I can kind of see it from certain angles from here, so I don't think it was a miss. I don't think I think it would work. So if anyone tries it out, definitely please snap a pic and shoot it on over to us and tag us on our socials, and then we'd love to see how they look. And of course, we'd love to see it at the very end too, because hopefully everyone finishes their boards. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for staying with me for a whole dang hour. I wish you all a wonderful day. Tomorrow's what? Tomorrow's Thursday. Tomorrow you get the two of us together at the same time, which is going to be super fun. It's always great when we are together. You get to see our antics live, but I hope you all have a wonderful day. All right. So thanks for coming again. And again, the stitch today was the raised stem stitch. Thanks. Bye.